President Abraham Lincoln's elections had far more reaching consequences for the Union than who the next commander-in-chief would be. His elections were unusual, from the number of candidates on the ballot to the precedent that it would set for future generations. These elections were important historically as they allowed us to see the mindset of the country as well as its division at the time. They give us further context onto the Civil War and the events that followed. The election of 1860 was a four-way race between four different nominees who had different platforms on the main issue as divided as the country at the time. The main issue was slavery and its future in the Union. Candidate Lincoln wanted to remove slavery from the Union as he thought that it was morally wrong. Candidate Bell wanted to preserve the Union as it was, but did not support the practice of slavery spread. Candidate Breckinridge wanted to keep slavery and allow its spread throughout the Union. Candidate Stephen Douglas wanted people to decide via vote whether new territories should be a slave state or a free state. Hoser in the Smithsonian Magazine wrote in 2008 that the South threatened to secede the Union should President Lincoln be elected, while others wanted Abraham Lincoln to win so that they would have an excuse to leave the Union. Abraham Lincoln's anti-slavery stance was a threat economically and culturally for the South. Syjack wrote on World Atlas in 2020 that slaves were the main workforce for the South and its economic wealth. He also stated that the South's social system was built entirely around slavery. Besides slavery, the South had different reasons for trying to secede the Union. They felt that they had a decline in power due to President Lincoln's election, which meant that the country did not support them. They also had weakened in Congress in recent years. The election of 1864 was historic for democracy. As Townsend for the National Park Service wrote in 2015 that Abraham Lincoln could have chosen to argue that the election should be postponed due to the Civil War. However, he did not do so. He moved forward with the election on the platform of defeating the South in the Civil War, as well as granting emancipation for the slaves. His opponent, McClellan, argued for peace between the South and the North. However, the country agreed with Abraham Lincoln, electing him for his second term. Later, the Union went on to defeat the Confederacy. Abraham Lincoln was the first president in the United States to be assassinated. Davis for NB Organizing Magazine in 2020 wrote that John Booth assassinated President Lincoln as a direct result of the South losing the war. As previously stated, Abraham Lincoln's elections had far-reaching consequences for the Union. From his election, which was a four-way fight, allowing us to see how conflicting the viewpoints in the country were, to his second election, which was a good example of democracy and a good example for future generations.